a series of ongoing talks curated. Oh, just 1 minute. There's a lot going on here. Uh, pull this to the side. Okay, so it's a series of heart conversations curated to identify healthy ways of practicing vulnerability, adopting radical self care, and shifting the narrative about how we all choose to love and be loved. We are your host, Dr. Free, with the pronouns we, us, and our. Today's broadcast launches the first Heart Conversation series. So we're very excited about that. A little round of applause there for ourselves. You can join in on the conversation live every Sunday and or watch it on YouTube after it airs. So we are just grateful and excited to be here now with you. So thank you for tuning in. One of the ways we are choosing to be intentional about cultivating these heart conversations and the community is by identifying an outline of how the community engages with one another. So we are going to share that with you now. By engaging in heart conversations, we champion addressing one another with open hearts, graceful communication, and curious minds. Said another way, we value taking time to chew and digest the information before acting on impulse. Practicing the respect of others' views is the work that is required to transform challenging conversations. If you cannot engage in this manner at this time, we will gently remind you and or remove you from the conversation. At this time, we want to set the space for open hearts and curious minds with a brief meditation. So mute your sound if it's not already, and close your eyes if you are in a safe place to do so. Take 1 minute to release and or call into your space what is needed to do that. Open your heart and have curiosity in your mind. We will bring your attention back to the community when that minute is over. All right. Please bring your attention back into the room, slowly beginning to flutter your eyes open and bring your awareness back to the community. Today's prompt is authenticity as the access to love. So we recently heard about a study that was conducted in Germany called the Spane scale of motion. Don't know if any of you have heard it before. They put 25,000 participants in a Faraday's cage, which is an area that is devoid of all frequencies. No microwave frequencies, no 5G, no nothing. To be able to observe if they can interact with and or what is it? They measured the frequency leaving the person's body and could register it as an emotion. So they could tell if they were feeling angry or sad or what have you. And the study actually showed that the most powerful frequency to leave a human being's body is authenticity. And we thought it would be love, right? And they were showing that authenticity has a strength of 4 times stronger than love as a frequency that's leaving the body. So we want to pose some questions to chew on before we open the floor. Can you and or have you experienced lasting love when you are primarily inauthentic to yourself and or to others? How has authenticity played a role in your healing journey, in your loving journey, loving and or healing? Those are some questions to get the conversation started, to start chewing on, right? So we want you to take a moment to see where that shows up in your life or in your purview of what life looks like. And we'll start the conversation after just maybe 30 seconds of being able to sit with those thoughts. We'll ask the questions again. Can you and or have you experienced lasting love when you are primarily inauthentic to yourself and or to others? How has authenticity played a role in your healing journey and or loving journey? All right, so at this time, we'll open the floor for some conversation, and we'll start it out. Uh, Authenticity for us has been a big part of the healing journey. We realized that, or yeah, realize is the right word, that the more authentic we are with ourselves, the more loving we can be to ourselves and to the world. And when we were starting out on the journey of healing and or loving, we didn't see authenticity as a major factor. It was like, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter if we're lying to ourselves or not. We just want to love people and we want to love the world, and it's gonna make so much difference. And one of the things we saw inside of ignoring our shadows and some of the things that we don't like about ourselves is that there was a barrier energetically, physically. It showed up in a lot of different ways to having lasting and loving connections. That's a little bit of our take on how authenticity has played a role in access to love for our life. Is there anyone else out there who has a perspective that they'd like to share? Let's see. Okay, it looks like we don't have. Oh, there we are. Someone's coming through.
I'm curious. Is it finding, being able to hold love? Is it love for others or love for oneself?
All of it.
In the
Love
authenticity.
in its entirety.
Right.
So yeah, it can show up either or way. You can talk about one aspect as far as like self-love, and or you can talk about, access to loving someone else and how authenticity um, plays a role.
I mean, I think that I think that there might be an inner striving for wanting love, whether it's self or for others. But if you're being inauthentic about it, you know,
May not come to fruition.
yeah, is it valid? Um,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah. And
um,
even if it feels valid for you, is there like a missing on the other side that just
right. I
has
mean,
not stick?
but I think that's also just the nature of love in general. I mean, it's
Mm,
it can be given and received, and I think ultimately love love is authentic regardless, right? Like, um, I really do think that love is the uh,
mm,
whatever God is, whatever source energy is, whatever the heartbeat of the universe is. I think it is just love. I think it comes back to love. I think that that is really the only true constant um, in the universe, and
mm.
whether uh, uh, whether it's authentic or inauthentic, I guess is in the eye of the beholder. Is that how that phrase works? Um, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Would you say, I mean, saying that, would you say that, or could you share about an experience that you've felt love with somebody, whether that was you putting it out or them bringing it to you, where inauthenticity was in the space and you've had the experience of, well, at least the love was the love, like you're saying. Does that make sense? Like, have you ever felt that yourself?
Mm,
What about Sam?
Sam? Mm, mm. Uh, yeah. Um, so uh, I was with a woman for 3 years,
Mm.
like a lot longer than that. Um, and she was, you know, she's super like just like uh, trying to find her way, and was carrying a lot of trauma from something, a very pivotal life happening for her that she carried with her, and uh, I was trying to show her better and help,
Mm.
and it wasn't. Yeah, I just found myself giving and giving, and it wasn't. I mean, she said it was reciprocated, but it just never was
Mm.
really. Um, and as a result, I found myself giving my love in a way that was ultimately uh,
Authentic to
not being
yourself.
authentic to myself, you
Mm.
know.
Got it.
Uh, and it was, yeah, yeah, and I dumped all of it into that, and like it was just a fucking huge waste of time. And I say that, and also, and yet, uh, I wouldn't have learned the things that I needed to learn at the time, uh, or now I wouldn't be the person that I am now if I hadn't um, dumped all of that into that relationship. However
Mm.
authentically it was on my end, or inauthentically I was being to myself. Uh,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We agree with, I mean, we understand what you're saying and we get that. Um, we would also, I guess something that we would put in there is that even though there was the inauthenticity that it started with, like you wouldn't have been able to get to where you were, it sounds like, without being authentic about that inauthenticity. You know, like authenticity had to play a role in there at some point. And if you were, you know, if you weren't authentic about that, then that pattern wouldn't have stopped, maybe, or it just would have yeah, it just sounds like authenticity made a difference at some point in that concoction, not concoction, but in that situation.
Yeah,
You know?
correct, for sure. Yeah.
But that's deep. Yeah, it's like, you know, all roads lead to all rivers, or is it all roads lead to the ocean or something like that?
I mean, it's roads and rivers, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like it all leads back to one. And I think that caveat for that would be it all leads back to one, to the source, if you bring authenticity to it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain point, I think life has a way of forcing you into it. You know, I mean, you can choose to be, you know, inauthentic, or, you know, not, and that's the road that all of us walk, I think, at some point. The roads in the river that we all, you know, walk at some point, is that, you know, we all are being inauthentic with ourselves at particular times in our life. But I think life in the universe has a way of pushing you into doing the quote unquote wrong thing, which, being inauthentic, is not great for anybody, especially to yourself. Pushing you into doing the wrong thing, which pushes you ultimately into figuring it out and blossoming into, you know, yourself. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate that perspective. Are there any other perspectives about authenticity and um, their access to love? Yeah. Todd, go ahead.
So I just want to bring up, there's layers of authenticity. And I mean, I've been with a partner 20 years. I mean, she's an empath and a psychic. So there's times where I think I'm being fully in my authenticity, but she'll point out that she's reading layers unconscious in me that deserves a little bit of attention. And it often surprises me, the things that she sees in layers that encourages me to be even more authentic.
Yeah.
So intentions can be one thing, and then the layers of what actually is coming through is a fully different one.
Totally got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are definitely levels to it. We have experienced that all too real in life. And that kind of brings us back to authenticity as a vibration, right? And I think that what Will was saying and what you're saying comes back to the vibration of authenticity. It's not about it's like balance, right? Like balance isn't about like being on the beam. It's about the experience of, you know, being on and off of, oh, okay, how do I
Yeah.
rebalance, you know, in any
Yeah.
situation. And so that sounds like it could really be directed toward authenticity in the same sense that, let's say we're born authentic, right? And we're just out there being our authentic self. And then, you know, something happens, whether it's trauma or a trigger or whatever, you know, something happens and, you know, we want to hide from the world, or we want to, you know, we shrink a little bit. And that's inauthentic to who we knew ourselves to be, right? And so the only way to get that authenticity back is to be authentic about that inauthenticity, like not stop hiding from ourself what we chose to hide out of fear or out of shame or out of whatever that was. And so it's like the word's not coming out right, but the blank is the medicine. What is it? The poison is the medicine, in a sense. Like you have to deal with inauthenticity to get authentic again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the layers are real. And what's real about the layers in our experience is like, okay, great. Like we did all this stuff to like get real with ourselves and get authentic. And then it's like, oh, there's another peak.
Yeah, no, you don't just get authentic and then stay that way. It's sometimes a struggle to stay on that balance beam.
Yeah, a roller coaster. And yeah, just a roller coaster. And that's where we would say like folding in grace, even when you don't even need no grace. It's like, you know what? Let's throw some grace in there anyway, because having too much grace I guess too much of anything can be a weapon or, be a deterrent. But yeah, that what we're finding is that a lot of grace is helpful in the conversation of love for ourselves and for others and for being real with ourselves.
Yeah.
Thanks for that perspective, Todd.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Any more perspectives on authenticity and access to love for yourself or for others?
Hey, baby daddy.
Hey, baby mom.
Yeah, I was over here eating my dinner. That's why I didn't chime in a little earlier. And then
Hi,
I also
Amira.
don't.
Hi, Amira.
Hello. Aw, I love hearing you guys' voices. It's making my Sunday night.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really have anything profound to offer or add. I guess I'm just sitting here thinking about authenticity. What does it really mean? Authenticity. It's being our most authentic selves and and then love, and to me it's just all the ebb and flow. It's almost like what Todd was saying, that the layers, and it's really I try not to classify. I've thought about this word over the years. It's just like love, self-love. Everyone's talks about unconditional love, and to me there really is just there's just love. Like once you have love of self, then you have love for I can love people only as much as I can truly love myself. And in my authenticity, to me, I think that sometimes I can be, or at least in the past, looking at choices that I've made, even in relationships as well, I can be authentically unloving to myself, because that's a layer that I needed to uncover. And
Wait a minute.
I was very authentic, I was very overgiving. What'd you say?
You said you weren't going to say anything deep. Authentically unloving.
Yep.
I guess.
Put on your seatbelts, folks. Going?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, when I think back to things, and just, growing into where I want to be and what kind of relationships I want to have in general, I just want to have healthy relationships, and that's what I've come to realize, that it's so easy for me to be authentic. I guess uh, as long as I'm engaging in self-love. And so sometimes I'm just not, I don't know what I'm supposed to be uncovering in that moment. And as long as we keep, just like layers of a tree, you look at, if you chop a tree down, you can see when it was born, and every storm and every piece of bark and everything that has gone on top of that. That's all, like, to me, just the ebb and flow of finding more layers of, yeah, sometimes you don't know when you're being inauthentic, and that's authentic. You don't know when you're not fully honoring yourself all the time, because sometimes it takes you to go through that, kind of like the wind shaking things up or the storm shaking things up, to say, oh no, this is actually not what I want, because we don't come here having every experience. Like, that's what the journey of life is to me. It's like finding more experiences to uncover the things that are, I guess, authentically you. And the only way to do that for me, is through self-love and forgiving myself even when I'm find myself being inauthentic. And so I guess that's, I have to think about what words mean in order to really kind of put context to it. So that's just my version.
Got it. Yeah. That brings us to a question that could permeate deeper or not, for some people. We've talked about, love for ourselves and love for others, and it sounded like a more personal love, right? What does it look like to love a community or group that, or bring authenticity to love and or authenticity to the love of a community or group that you don't feel love for? um, we don't have to talk in specifics, and yet, we can look at specific, situations, like what's been going on with this election, right? There's a lot of things that people have been experiencing, as far as, just the lack of love for the other side or other sides. And, we're a believer, not a believer. We know, it's not a belief, it's a knowing that there's more that connects us than that divides us, and that, um, we all are, what's the word, unique, right? So we have our differences, and we like our different things for different reasons. What does that conversation look like, or how does the authenticity, everything that we've been talking about here with love and authenticity, how does that translate into community, and community that is an other over there, in a sense? Do you feel like it works the same, or, is it a completely different ball of wax? What are your, uh, perspectives on that?
I think that that speaking specifically about this election and whatnot, is like, I just feel like, we already been here. We already done it. We did it once. Okay. And so, the first time, and when it happened this time, is like, yeah, like reading on the internet, I had to take a break, because I was like, fuck, like, there's so much hate being thrown around on both sides. And it's like, I think if there's ever a time to, even if, I think this is the time, in terms of, authenticity and love, to push against the current that is your gut, to tell you, on whatever side you're on, to push back on the other side. And we need to, like, listen to each other a little more, and love each other a little bit more. Like, because if we keep, you know if we keep pulling dirt, out of the ground, and digging this hole wider and deeper, it's like we're fucked, So,
Scientifically speaking.
yeah. And I think, Yeah, scientific, exactly. And I just think, I think if there's any time to show up as your authentic self, and also like, I don't know, just like make a little leeway, like, uh, give a little bit off the leash for everybody. Just like,
Mm.
just be kinder to each other. Um, because what's the alternative? I mean, we're just gonna keep, bashing each other in the head until what? Till everybody's dead? Probably, and that's
For an eye leaves the whole world blind. That
exactly.
whole
And
thing.
that's not a sad. I mean, that's a sad thought. I don't like that, because I am, and till the bitter end will be a glass half full kind of person. You know what I mean? But just, I don't know. Just everybody needs to shut the fuck up and listen to each other a little more. I think.
Got that. Thank you for that very colorful perspective. We got that. Oh, Todd's putting his throwing his hat in the ring. Here we go.
I read something today which was something like, my need to be fully informed is coming up against my need for sanity.
Mm.
That's been a big part of this unfortunate outcome in the election. The uh, the idea that the next 4 years could have been easier, could have been smoother, could have. I think it would have been easier to negate the feelings of half the country if my side had won. And
Mm.
instead, I have to put up with them being in charge and doing things that I'm adamantly against. And so it's a challenge to be in that kind of love. It's like that's what we got, and at least for the next 2 years or 4 years, it's gonna be a challenge. Um, and it's I mean, I think we're in this state of a 50-50 country, or a 51 and 50% country, where um, it's gonna behoove all of us to figure out how to love our side and the other side in spite of the outcome.
Mm.
So definitely challenging times, but I look at this, that every generation has their challenges. I mean, from the beginning of time, there hasn't been a generation that didn't have something to fight against, something to stand up for, something to improve. And this happens to be ours. Yay. But these dialogues are important. I mean, keeping the communication going, authenticity, and learning how to love in challenging times, it's got to be done. Yeah. This is our challenge.
Yeah, we hear that. We feel that. Uh, and which was interesting because we've had, we've wanted to have conversations like this for a while, for a long time, and just everything going the way it did after being in meditation, it was like, yeah, we need to like, there was a pull to be like, okay, let's bring people to the table. Let's just like talk about things that are really challenging to talk about, and let's do our best to create a new narrative, to take the narrative
Yeah.
of, you know what, these conversations are too hard to have, to, okay, we can still take that energy, but what if we changed the wording around it, right? Like Amira was saying, just being more conscious with our wording. Instead of saying hard conversations, heart conversations, conversations that are close to the heart, that are all important to us. Um, if we look at it from that little shift, right, of heart conversations, what kind of space could be made, right? And not just heart conversations with the other side, but what that brings up for us. Sometimes, some people saw a new level of ugliness in their selves that they hadn't seen before. Ways that they talk about people from um, other camps, right?
Yeah.
People who knew themselves as peaceful, who wanted to was speaking death on people's lives. It's just like,
Yeah.
we're not judging them in that space. It's just like, wow, what is that like to have this new level of self be unearthed that we don't like very much, or that isn't very nice to others or to ourselves. A lot of people who we talked to actually started to realize how they were not kind to themselves, where they were eating excessively, or like not bathing anymore, or just like all these things where self-care went out the door because of what they were dealing with. And this is not the first time that we as humans individually have dealt with something difficult where self-care has gone out the door, and it's just something that could be really beneficial to look at. um, so yeah, that's the intention of this space, to have these conversations, to shift those narratives and create more space where there may not have been space, and to have some open feedback. So yeah, that's where we're at. Thank you, Todd, for that piece.
And thank you for having this kind of dialogue. I mean, I look forward to times where the meeting has people with alternative views and gives us a little more grist, to
Say
to
that
work
now.
on.
You say that now. No, so do we. And it's just going to take keeping, not just on our part, but on people who like this conversation, to, you know, um, extend that olive branch to people
Yeah,
that you may know who have opposing views,
right.
and even if they, decline, to extend it again. I'm not saying beat them over the head with the olive branch, right? And yet just, letting them know that there's an open invitation for them to come through at any time. They're happening every Sunday. So that's that. At this time, speaking of feedback, we would like everybody to take some time to, oh, wait, saw somebody come unmuted. Did you want to say something, Amira, before we put some feedback in place?
I did. If
Great, we love that.
just because I mean, I typically try not to chime into. Well, I shouldn't say I try not to. I just don't really have that many. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The political conversation in this country is very, very, very. We're at a time right now. We've been at a time for quite some time, which is how we got here. But the only reason I want to say something in this is because we were talking about authenticity and love, and to me, I feel like those are the two super questions or super words that we have an opportunity right now in this country to
Mm,
potentially heal. I don't know if we will. This feels like the perfect time because if we look at authenticity, and this is my own specific view, um, most of the I've lived out of the country. I mean, even before that, I try not to consume too much polarizing media. But coming back to the country over this summer and actually finally tuning back into the political climate, I just thought that I feel like we've always been here and we never recognize it, that it seems like both sides are cut from the same cloth. Not necessarily. I know that is very polarizing. We're not like that. We're not like this. We're not like that. I'm not saying that at all. It when I if I were to take away words or take away people's faces and hear certain arguments, not the specific words of like this, both sides are like this person's a liar, or both sides like person is this, and I know that that's political, but when we dial it back to the people, I always say, and this is just how I've only really developed in my own personal growth. So again, I'm only speaking from my perspective of if I can see something in someone else, the thing that has helped me grow the most if is for me to authentically understand and be really, really willing to be and go there with myself. If I can see something in someone else, it's because I have it in me. So the moment that I get upset with someone for anything now, the moment that I feel uncomfortable about anything now. Like the moment that I, even if I see something that I love in someone else, I recognize that I'm just recognizing myself. I can only see people through the lens that I have of my own self-love. And so the moment that I see, oh, that person's untrustworthy. Oh, where am I? I always ask myself, where am I untrustworthy? Like, why am I? So to me, all of my growth has really come from being able to, instead of pointing, being able to see. And I feel like if that we have such an opportunity. I mean, yeah, it's very crazy time. We have czars somehow in the U.S. government. We've got czars. But I think the reason why we're here is because there's no matter which side won, there were going to be people who felt like they lost, right? And so until we can see that we should be, or not, let me not say should be. I'm trying not to like stumble over my words because I know this is very triggering conversation for people. So I'm trying to just make sure that we're we're all on the same side. Like if one we're one, I can't even say country, like one world. And yes, there will be opposing views, but we have to figure out how not to be so pointy. I feel like that's really where the problem always comes. And I know they the saying is like when you have, you point one finger, you have three looking back at you. Like if both sides are able to see and come to terms with and to really live in the authenticity of we both have work to do on both sides. And that if we start there, then it might not be so polarizing. Because if we look at individual relationships, if I start in my individual relationships with if I can see it in you, I have it in me, then that kind of disarms the argument that I have of the other side. So to me, I'm just like, how can we disarm the fear? How can we disarm the hatred or disarm the notions that we have of the other side? I'm talking about both sides, not just one
Mhm.
side,
Mhm.
because it seems like neither side can hear each other because all that exists is a brick wall of polarity. And when you come against that, we have to wake up and be wise enough to understand that the reason why we're doing that is because we're looking at a mirror of ourselves. We're just seeing in other people what we haven't figured out that we have within us. And that's, I guess, a hard conversation or a heart conversation until we can look at the fact that we are that other side or we are that other person, then no growth will come because we will be looking for other people to change externally before anything happens. And that's what both sides seem to be looking for. And it's very easy. And in this country, it's very profitable. And so it's going to be we're systematically angry. Why? Because it's profitable. And so I think the power comes in when every individual can see that we have to have these conversations with ourselves individually, not through a party, not through a basketball team, not through anything that you can put yourself, any kind of group that you can put yourself into in order to have backup and people that agree with you and the voice of whatever get louder, that inner voice. If I see it in you, I have it in me, and just start there in the tiny ways of exploring what do you see in others, and where is it in you, and start disarming your own self. I think we'll be able to walk through the world just a little bit lighter, where each side or each person doesn't get individually or systematically or group triggered. So I just think that we have an opportunity to heal. And the words authenticity and love, I'm like, those are the ones that if we really have those conversations with ourselves first, um then we'll realize that everybody isn't that bad until we make them that bad. Sometimes they are that bad. But I'll stop there. I don't know if I made sense because I was really just just try to.
It made sense to us. Thank you. That was deep. Yeah, just this. We're really grateful where this whole conversation led us today. Ooh. So what we want to do in this time is uh, invite you to take just a few quick minutes to write down any feedback or introspection privately for yourself, and maybe a portion of that is shareable, whether that's through the medium of this meeting notes, or um, you know sending it to us privately, to us through text message or what have you. We just really value the feedback on how this worked for you, how it didn't work for you, how it could be improved in the future, less any technology mishaps. And yeah, sometimes people get things from this conversation that's like, oh, you know what? I wish I would have wrote that down. So just being able to reflect on what's been said here, just for a quick few minutes, to write that down and share what you will later. So we'll let you know when that time is up. Maybe you take a few quick jots so you can expound on it later. So the thought's not completely gone, but I did want to take some time for feedback. Take just a few more seconds before you begin to wrap that up. All right. I'm just going to take a quick few minutes before we end this broadcast to offer so much gratitude to those who were able to tune in live, and those of you who were able to tune in after the broadcast. We appreciate you. We have love for you, and we pray that you are able to continue unfolding the onion of your authentic self. In the beginning of this broadcast, we mentioned the clinical study that was done in Germany. We're going to post that, the access to that study, in the YouTube post air. So you'll be able to look at that in the drop down description. Here in this meeting, we are posting a few links to some different things, and they will also be posted on the YouTube after. So as we close, we just want to acknowledge that this series, Heart Conversations, is happening every Sunday sometimes the times may change. We're finding our rhythm, and yet it will happen every Sunday from now until it doesn't. But we definitely have a few months of prompts planned so far. This series is a creation out of a movement that we created for the Onesie Love conscious clothing brand that is launching this spring. For those who don't know about it, please check it out. There is a link down in the description to check out the pre-sale and or check out the rest of the movement and the programs that we're offering in this movement. Heart on Your Sleeve. The Heart on Your Sleeve campaign is, or Heart Conversations is brought to you by the Heart on Your Sleeve campaign, which is to wear your heart on your sleeve, not just physically for the onesies that are going to be coming out in the spring, but also metaphorically put your heart out there in healthy ways, right? Practicing healthy vulnerability and adopting healthy self-care practices. There is a WhatsApp group to be able to continue in these conversations with this and other offerings that we are rolling out. The link is in the description box as well as the meeting box here. So please come and join that community group chat. All of this is brought to you free of charge because it's something that we see as important right now in the conversation of being human in this world right now. And it is our pleasure to offer them for you and others that you may think restarting that for yourself and others that you think would like this conversation. Please tell your friends, family, as well as share our link for donation. Heart Conversations is run out of Luminescent Dolphin, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, which most of you know about that are here, but some of you who are tuning in, you might not know. That link for donation is down in the description box as well. And lastly, we have the Conscious Children's Chakra Book series. It's a chakra book series that we wrote and designed under the pen name Dr. Chakra, known as the Conscious Dr. Seuss. In this book, yes, it is geared toward youth and children. At the same time, there's a lot of healthy life habits and life hacks that are great for adults as well. So there's a link for this in the description if you haven't gotten it already. And it makes for a great little Christmas gift as well. 10 books in one. And that's going to be it for today. Again, love you all so much. And until next Sunday or sooner, keep those hearts open and healthy. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Thanks, Alex.
Yay! We did it.
Great job, Dr. Free. Well done.
Awesome. Yay.
Thanks, baby
Pleasure
daddy.
to be
Bye,
with
Jess. Bye,
pleasure
Will.
to be with so many great voices.
I'm
You
here.
guys rock. Bye.
Y'all too.
Oh
Bye,
my
Tom.
God. Yay. Bye, guys.
Hi.